This week on Israel Update.
Let's celebrate what God has done with Israel as a nation and with the Jewish people. When you look at their history, which is what we've done a lot this year, when you look at what they came out of from the Holocaust and all the way through to now with the rebirth of Israel in 1948, with from drip irrigation technology kind of starting, the ideas and the processing starting around 1965 to even where we are now. The amount of Nobel Prizes that have been won by the Jewish people, it is just so beautiful and evident that God has blessed them and that they are in turn blessing the whole earth.
Shalom warriors, shalom Abraham friends, shalom Israel partners, and welcome to Jerusalem, welcome to my home. This is a great pleasure to host you here, and today we're talking about Hanukkah. Yes, that's one of the best festivals in the Jewish calendar, one of the happiest days, and one of the most happy celebrations. And it's always going alongside with the Christmas, so it's just a double portion of celebrations. Hanukkah is actually one of these holidays, special days, that is not mentioned in the Old Testament. Oh, what a holiday. Yes, that's what it is. It's not mentioned in the Old Testament, but it is a holiday that was fixed by the chief rabbis of the land of Israel during the times of the Second Temple period, when we were celebrating a new freedom. So, we have the holidays where we celebrate the freedom of slavery, like Passover, and this is very biblical. It goes back to the Old Testament when Israel left Egypt into the freedom and into the promised land. But Hanukkah is actually a holiday which is also a memorial day for a very special event, for an amazing miracle. There are two special miracles and two special events in the Jewish calendar that are not in the Old Testament, but they are to celebrate, commemorate, and remember the fact that God redeemed us from our enemies. One of them is Hanukkah, and the other one is the festival of Purim. And both of them are just festivals that were fixed by the chief rabbis of the period in order to praise and celebrate a miracle that no way it would have happened without God's intervention, without God's help. And the celebration of Hanukkah actually refers to the time about 150 years before Christ in the land of Israel. At this time, the land was conquered and governed and ruled by the Greek Empire. We all remember by the year 333 BCE, Alexander the Great started this conquest and conquering the Levant and the Old World, and also taking over the land of Israel. But then about 150 years into that period, there was a Greek king. His name was actually Antiochus IV Epiphanes, and this guy was a terrible person. He tried to change a lot of the rules of that very time and also to impose paganism back on the Jews. He started to say to the Jews that they cannot celebrate anymore the old-fashioned way. They cannot have the circumcision. Jews should not read the Bible. As a matter of fact, he went into the temple in Jerusalem and disgraced the whole building and demolished big parts of it and turned it into a shrine for the idols. And the Jews said, it's enough. We cannot live a Jewish life. We cannot even live this type of life without God in our life and without the ability to celebrate and to worship the Lord God of Israel. And what was happening, there is a family of Jewish priests from the area of Modi'im, led by the Maccabees, by the greatest priest of this very time, Matthithiah the Maccabee, who had a very brave son. His name was Judah. Decided that we, the Jews, cannot tolerate this situation anymore, to be oppressed in such a manner and to be forced back into paganism. And they started to get people together, train them secretly, and arrange an army of a militia that would get together underground activities against the Greek regime. And the Maccabees, these are the name of this family, or we call them the Hasmoneans, gathered enough young men and women together with them to be able to sacrifice their lives if needed to go and tackle the greatest army of the time, the Greek army. And what they did, they went with all kinds of different guerrilla operations down to the plateaus where the military of the Greek used to settle. They would come and hit them and strike them by surprises and draw them to chase them into the mountains, where the areas of the mountains were already well prepared. They took them into traps in very deep ravines and into areas in wadis and narrow passages in the mountains. And there they ambushed them, they surprised them, and they were able to defeat the biggest army of the time, the biggest Greek army, the biggest empire of the time, the Maccabees, the Hasmoneans. With the help of God, in a miraculous way, they were able to defeat the Greek Empire. And once they finished with the Greek Empire, they started the first thing that was most important for them is to celebrate and acknowledge the miracle of God. So obviously the house of God is the temple in Jerusalem. They went to the location of the temple and they said that the first mission is to clean the building, to purify it, so they can go back to the worship of God. Unfortunately, the situation was very dire. The building was almost destroyed. Inside of it, there was a huge chaos. The Greek Empire and the king made it as one of the dump yards and just a trashing area. It was full of junk, and the Maccabees needed a long time to purify and clean the building. So of course, they went into the building wanting to work night and day, but because the worship wasn't allowed for a long time, Jews were not able to make any pure olive oil. And you know that there is only pure olive oil that can get into the temple in order to be able to light the candles inside the temple and the menorah, and to be able to clean the house 24/7. And they were searching for some pure olive oil, and they were able to find one amphora, just one jar that normally would be enough for only one day of light. But here is God and His amazing, miraculous intervention. This one amphora of pure olive oil was enough for the entire 8 days that it took in order to be able to purify, clean the building, and celebrate God again. And for that amazing reason, that there was enough oil exactly for the amount of time that was needed to return the house back to its holiness, back to its purity, the rabbis said that from now on, the Jewish people everywhere around the world are commanded to celebrate the 8 days of the purification of the temple by lighting candles and praising God and caring and loving for each other. This is one of the most amazing miracles. And not only that we were able to purify the temple, we also gained the Hasmoneans Empire. This was the biggest Jewish land ever since the beginning of the history in the Promised Land. When the Hasmoneans were governing and ruling the land was all the way to Syria, the entire land of Lebanon, the whole land of Jordan of today, of course the entire land of Israel, all the way to the River Nile in Egypt. For hundreds of years, the Hasmoneans were governing under the eyes of God with a huge, big, beautiful empire, and reinforcing the celebration of freedom and miracles. So just like it is so beautiful during that very period of time that the Christians, brothers and sisters of us, are celebrating Christmas with Christmas lights everywhere, celebrating Jesus as the light of the universe, during that very period of time, the Jews are celebrating the light of God and how it penetrates and invades each one's heart, acknowledging the miracles and the strengths of the light and the strengths and the power of God in our lives. This is a celebration where people are actually visiting each other. People are lighting candles, one candle every day. You can see that there is a menorah right behind me now, ready for the lighting that will take place on Sunday, this coming Sunday. We're going to start celebrating for 8 days, and I wanted to bring you this update and this teaching before, because I think that if you can join us as well, Jews and Christians alike, that we're going to light candles and celebrate the life and the beauty of the freedom during the times when God takes control over the land and we defeat our enemies, just like we are going to defeat the enemies that are trying to come against Israel now. You will be able to defeat the enemies that comes into the Israel of your heart, that comes into your life. We will be here celebrating the intervention, the miraculous powers of God in our lives that can defeat the darkness and bring light into this world and into this universe. This is a huge celebration for the children, for the families. Everybody every evening stands together, eat beautiful donuts, sweet food, and also lights amazing candles with a blessing for thanks and praise for God to help us stand for our rights, push away the paganism, and celebrate and embrace God's rules once again. So I love you a lot, and I want you to try and celebrate, even in your heart, as much as you can, the freedom that we can only gain by walking hand with God. I love you a lot, Dubi, and I'll see you soon.
Israel Update is brought to you by the generous supporters of the Israel Partnership. Because of their love for Israel, we are able to bring you this show and continue to sow into the nation of Israel and the Jewish people. For more information on how to become a sustaining partner, please click the Israel Partner banner below.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Israel Update. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this show today. And really, the last couple of weeks, what we've been looking at is sort of just how Israel is not an apartheid state. And I really hope and pray that brought some encouragement to you, specifically about knowing how to answer people. But what I want to do today is really just look at and celebrate what Israel has done in helping to change the world with innovation and inventions. Now, if I was to actually sit and go through all of it with you, we would be here for, a week. So right now, I'm just going to look at like some of the top inventions and innovations that have come out of Israel and show you how this is actually fulfillment of what God promised Abraham in Genesis 12:1-3. So if we look at Genesis 12:1-3, we read this: Abram, get up and go, leave your country, leave your relatives and your father's house, and go to a land that I will show you. Don't worry, I will guide you there. I have plans to make a great people from your descendants, and I'm going to put a special blessing on you and cause your reputation to grow so that you will become a blessing and an example to others. I will also bless those who bless you and further you in your journey, and I'll trip up those who try to trip you along the way. Through your descendants, all of the families of the earth will find their blessing in you. And this is true in our generation. When we look at this, and what I'm going to be showing you is how the Jews have brought blessing to the modern world. It really is incredible that what we're about to look at is fulfillment of a promise God made to a man named Abraham thousands of years ago. And so the first invention that I want to talk about for a moment, and each of these is just going to be shorter, we're just looking and celebrating what God has done, is the Iron Dome. And this is the only missile and rocket interceptor system of its kind. And this Iron Dome was developed in 2007, and it's considered to be one of the most important and influential Israeli inventions born out of necessity. Now, the defense system was developed by the Ministry of Defense, Mufat, through the Rafael Government Company, in cooperation with Alta Systems, which developed the radar system, and Amprest, which developed the control system. The Iron Dome system intercepted more than 1,700 rockets and missiles fired at Israel from various regions. And the success rate of this during Operation Protective Edge, which happened back in 2014, the success rate of the Iron Dome was 90%. And obviously, two of the strongest advantages of this technological development are its ability to save Israeli lives and also to protect what would otherwise destroy the Israeli economy surrounding that Gaza region. Now, of course, we know what the Bible says: some trust in chariots and some trust in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. And even the fact that the system exists, it's God's blessing on the Jewish people, giving them the ability to build this system that is able to protect and defend the nation and people of Israel. Without the Iron Dome, so much would have gone wrong in the nation, so many lives would have been lost. So that is a celebration of Israeli technology. The second one is Waze, which is an Israeli app developed in 2006 for GPS road navigation. And this company was founded and developed by Ehud Shabtai, and Google bought it in 2013. So, obviously a lot of us will use Google Maps or Maps, but Waze is incredibly popular in Israel, and that too has just been helping people all over the world be able to navigate where they're going to go. And I don't know about you, but navigation is not my strong point. And so I'm incredibly grateful to people who are able to develop the sort of technology that ends up helping those of us that are directionally challenged. The third, and this is probably like my favorite, is Netafim, or drip irrigation. And Netafim was founded in 1965 by farmers in the Negev desert who explored different solutions to growing crops in the desert soil. Even that, the fact that they were exploring ways to grow crops in the desert soil, was fulfillment of Isaiah 35, speaking about how the desert would bloom and the wilderness would burst forth. What happened from 1965 up until now is fulfillment of this prophecy that Isaiah saw, and that's just really amazing. But the company produces drippers, dripper lines, sprinklers, and micro emitters. In conjunction with these products, Netafim manufactures and distributes crop management technology, including monitoring and control systems. And to put things into perspective, Netafim controls over 30% of the global drip irrigation market in the world, and the company's recorded revenues were over $822 million in 2015. Now that's obviously kind of the practical side of it, what the company's called. But drip irrigation has saved so many rural areas, because when you look at what it was, the way that they've developed the system is that instead of watering the crop fully from the top, they create a pipeline and they drip little bits of water directly onto the root, or the area that needs water the most. And so they've saved so much water through this technology, and it definitely has been used in part to fulfill what Isaiah saw, which is making the desert bloom. The next thing is the USB stick. Your thumb drive, the little guy that you plug in, that was developed by Israelis. And there's a company called M Systems Limited, and that was an Israeli-based company that was responsible for the production of the flash memory storage products, and that was originally designed in 1989 by a man named Dov Moran. And so the original technology came from Israel, and then it developed into what it is now, but that came out of Israel. I mean, if you think about it, like, where would we be without USB sticks and just USB connectors? So that came out of Israel. Another thing that's really incredible is micro robotics system that helps in surgery. ASIA Medical Center, specifically the urology ward, has implemented state-of-the-art Israeli technology, which specializes in minimally invasive surgeries for the abdominal cavity, and it's a specialized robotic technology that allows and assists surgeons. Then there's Watergen Limited. They invented cutting-edge technology to provide a low-cost solution for creating a renewable source of fresh and clean drinking water by extracting it directly from the atmosphere. Watergen's solution is a game changer that will improve quality of life and health, as well as save lives. This invention has the capacity to serve billions of people around the world by providing one of the most basic human necessities for life, one of the most basic biological needs, which is water. Again, when you think back to Genesis 12 and what God said to Abraham, we're seeing this fulfilled now in our generation with all of these tech developments and all of these inventions and innovations that are coming out of Israel. Then there's with regards to optics, the world's smallest video camera was designed to fit inside an endoscope, and that was designed by a company called Medigus, which is Israeli. And then there was the development, it's a brand new technology that came out at the end of last year, beginning of this year, called the pill cam. And it's the first capsule endoscopy solution to record images of the digestive tract. So it's this tiny little camera that's the size of a pill that you swallow it, And that allows gastroenterologists and surgeons to be able to see through your entire digestive tract. Now, I don't want to overshare with you here, but I'm probably going to right now. For those of you who have ever been unfortunate enough to have to experience either a gastroscopy or a colonoscopy like I have, man, oh man, the gratitude I would feel now if I had to go get another checkup and all I had to do was swallow a pill and that had a camera in it instead of the pipes and the cameras and everything that went along with it. I feel deep gratitude for the invention of the pill cam. And anybody out there who's experienced it, I know that your joy will be overflowing as well. The last one I just want to look at briefly is robotics. Rewalk is a bionic walking assistance system that enables paraplegics to stand upright, to walk and climb stairs. I mean, you know, if you just imagine that, for those of you that maybe know people that have been paralyzed in some way, when you think about the people that have been injured, whether it's in the line of duty or whatever it is, or just people that are, you know, for whatever reason have ended up with back operations or whatever it is, any form of paralysis, to have a technology available that can actually help them walk again is life-changing. And it's going to be exciting to see the day that all of this becomes completely mainstream and accessible to everybody. There's too many things to even look through or list, but what I want to do right now is just say to you, like, let's celebrate what God has done with Israel as a nation and with the Jewish people. When you look at their history, which is what we've done a lot this year, when you look at what they came out of from the Holocaust and all the way through to now with the rebirth of Israel in 1948, with the, you know, from drip irrigation technology kind of starting, the ideas and the processing starting around 1965 to even where we are now. The amount of Nobel Prizes that have been won by the Jewish people, it is just so beautiful and evident that God has blessed them and that they are in turn blessing the whole earth. And so this show is about celebrating Israel, about supporting her. And so I just wanted to take today and just go, do you know what? This is what Israel's done to bless us. And I'm so very thankful for it. And let's just keep praying, keep trusting God for more and more to come out of the nation, for more and more blessings to come out from them that will bless the whole world. So thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure you tune in next week. Every Friday we have a new show for you only on IsraelUpdate.org. And again, to every single one of you who gives in any way, for those of you that pray for us, we're so very thankful and we wouldn't be able to do it without you. Hope you have an incredible week. God bless you.